LIV Golf and the PGA Tour might have successfully agreed on a merger, but that doesn't necessarily mean all is well and good between both tours. In fact, the merger has only shown us how the LIV managed to expose the PGA Tour as an undervalued asset. Stick around to find out how. For almost 2 years, the PGA Tour has been engaged in a relentless tug-of-war with LIV Golf. It's become a battle of words, and both sides are trying to out-putt each other in the courtrooms rather than on the green. The rivalry started when Saudi Arabia funded its own golf franchise, LIV Golf, with the Public Investment Fund sponsoring the tour with hundreds of millions of dollars. The PGA Tour, the DP World Tour, the official World Golf Rankings Committee, and even many top broadcasting channels like FS1, NBC, ESPN, and ABC did not appreciate LIV Golf coming into the picture. Another source of rivalry was the consistent hijacking of the PGA Tour golfers with irresistible sums of money. The defection of players became a serious concern when the targeted golfers were PGA's best picks like Phil Mickelson, Brooks Koepka, Ian Poulter, Dustin Johnson, and Bryson DeChambeau, and the LIV managed to land every one of them. LIV Golf spent around $800 million to secure these players, and only a couple, like Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy, had what it took to reject those lucrative offers. Fast forward a couple of years since the LIV's inaugural event, and LIV Golf has finally made the history books. They managed to put to bed the seemingly unending beef with the PGA Tour and Europe's DP World Tour by coming to an unlikely merger that no one saw coming. The representative from the PGA responsible for orchestrating the new deal was a PGA Tour Policy Board member, Jimmy Dunn. We all didn't know this back then, but Dunn had reached out to PIF Governor Yasir Al-Rumayyan early in 2023 to start several discussions of the merger that surprised the sports world today. What agreement did they come to? Well, the merging of these golf tours will mean a lot to players, fans, and the concerned golf franchises. The excitement will make even the most stoic golfer do a little victory dance in their plaid pants. PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan's jaw-dropping announcement just makes it seem like the prestigious tour gave into the LIV Golf merger news because it couldn't afford to keep fighting Saudi Arabian PIF's unlimited money source. Jay Monahan revealed that the PGA had been spending tens of millions in the lawsuit against Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund while increasing its purses to help stop other players from defecting to the rival circuit. While the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund has over $600 billion worth of assets to facilitate their spending, the PGA Tour had spent just about $50 million in legal fees and $100 million in bonuses during the cause of the disagreement, and that already took its toll on the tour's purse. That may sound extravagant to the PGA Tour, but to LIV Golf, that's simply close to nothing. In a simple report to the PGA Tour employees, Commissioner Jay Monahan just might have owned up that the tour could not afford to keep fighting the LIV Golf, not for any other reason, but because their rival was continuously backed by Saudi Arabia's unlimited funds. We cannot compete with a foreign government with unlimited money. This was the time. We waited to be in the strongest possible position to get this deal in place. In Monahan's view, he said that taking a competitor off the board was one of the motives for the merger deal, and also to put an end to all legal disputes and increase both the value and relevance of the game. To characterize that this agreement was made due to litigation costs and other use of reserves is an oversimplification. With the end of the fractured landscape in the world of men's professional golf, the PGA Tour has never been a more valuable property. Monahan's statement continued, reading, "The Public Investment Fund, PIF, has recognized that value and the opportunity for return on investment with their investment in the tour. Additionally, this transaction will make professional golf more competitive with other professional sports and sports leagues. At every stage of the sport, the goal is to have a good and fair competitive game irrespective of various differences. But no matter how the PGA Tour twists the story, it's impossible to deny that they just might have been outmuscled by a franchise everyone thought didn't stand a chance. Now, we're not saying the PGA Tour is broke or anything like that, not at all. In fact, according to Golf Digest, the PGA Tour itself has businesses worth about $1.5 billion. These businesses earn the majority of their revenue from 5 categories: tournament revenue, which brings in about $660 million, domestic and international media rights, which bring in $634 million, tournament players clubs, which bring in $142 million, corporate licensing worth $65 million, and investments that adds the extra $21 million to make up the tour's $1.5 billion worth. The European Tour also generates around $144 million across its 39 tournaments. So, overall, when it comes to money, the PGA isn't doing so bad. It's just simple math at the end of the day. The PGA and DP World Tour combined aren't worth up to $2 billion. On the other hand, LIV is sponsored by a generous fund with over $500 billion to spend. Money wasn't the sole decider, but it sure played a part, and it's clear as day who would have to succumb to whom. New details about the deal between the PGA Tour and the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund have now revealed that the PGA Tour Commissioner, Jay Monahan, will oversee both the PGA Tour and LIV Golf once this agreement is finalized. This new office appointment could mean that Monahan can disband LIV if he wants to, and also approve the reinstatement of former PGA Tour professionals by choice or by will. Monahan will probably not have a place for LIV CEO Greg Norman, considering the public distaste they have both expressed for one another over the years. The report also notes that the only promise made between PGA Tour and PIF officials is a right to refusal, meaning many unknowns still exist, and we'll have to wait and see. To fans, this merge will mean that their favorite star players that defected to LIV Golf will now be eligible to participate in noble tournaments like the Ryder Cup, the President's Cup, and the Masters, and also be reinstated in the official World Golf Ranking. This is such good news for all. According to Jimmy Dunn, who has been credited for getting the deal over the line, the new company would grow and the current PGA Tour players would get a piece of equity that would enhance and increase in value as time went on. He added that the colliding tours would have to come up with a formulaic decision on how to achieve that aim. But Dunn also laid emphasis that whatever decision was made would be a fair mechanism that would be really beneficial to our players. Players who declined LIV's offers and stayed on the PGA have been said to expect compensation for their loyalty. And, in most people's views, it's the least the tour could do given all these players denied themselves all that money that was up for grabs on the LIV, stuck with the PGA, only to have to merge with the LIV again. Reports have it that these players will be given equity shares in the new for-profit entity formed by both tours' mergers. As expected, the players who joined LIV will not be eligible for that equity plan. This merger also means more money for the players and, most especially, a better accommodating world of golf for everybody to succeed uniquely. The PIF, which controls some $600 billion in assets, will be the sole investor in the new golf organization and will have a right of first refusal on any new investment. The details aren't ironed out yet, but they may eventually get a bargain. No doubt it will have to spend a lot on marketing and promotion, not to mention tournament winnings. All cash infusion by PIFs will be calculated as the difference between the value of its LIV stake and the total value of the golf enterprise. The size of the cash contribution is not finalized and could be greater or less than $3 billion, depending on the valuation of the overall transaction. At the end of the day, the PGA Tour will benefit a lot from this merger. That's what Jay Monahan would prefer. We all remember the merger. However, it'd be biased not to acknowledge that the PIF is the biggest winner in this deal. Their initial brainchild, LIV Golf, is unlikely to survive the merger, but either way, the PIF still got what it wanted, which is a sizable stake in world golf. No shades at Greg Norman and his beloved Roman numeral tour, but getting to run the PGA Tour is definitely a bigger prize than striving for importance with a new breakaway tour. Don't you think?